Hello, my friends. In this lesson, we're going to explore how to add shadows to our letters and words. I've already drawn out my letter skeletons and the outlines. All right, so I have all my letters filled in. You could use any style you want, any inlines, even outlines, textures, and so forth. I'm just going to keep mine simple with a solid colored letter so that we can focus on the shadow. The first thing we need to know when we do shadows is where the light is coming from. So for me, I'm going to say the sun is over here. Right, so my shadows are going to be down and to the left of my letters. And my first shadow will be a drop line. And to do that, all I need is to say, okay, the shadow is still coming this way. So there's going to be a line on the left and on the bottom sides, because that's the sides where the shadows fall. So let's say there's a line and on the bottom. And anywhere that's the bottom. So in here is also the bottom. And here is the left. And there's the bottom. And also up there. And the same thing on the eye. So very simply, just down the left side and across the bottom. And that's a nice, quick, simple way to do a shadow. On the next one, I'm going to use the same idea of a drop line where it's over and down, but it's going to be a drop texture this time. So I've penciled in the drop line exactly as the one there. Also, I'll point out that your letters don't always have to be as thick as that. You can use any shape letters you want. And then I'm just going to draw my texture lines. And again, you could use a ruler or a piece of thick paper or cardboard to help you with this, just like you did in the texture for the last lesson when we filled the letter with texture. And the next one is going to be a drop shadow. So it's actually going to be the shape of the whole letter basically moved over and below the letter. And one way that you can easily do this is to draw your letter really dark on another piece of paper and then slide it underneath so that you're just tracing it over. And then you'll get exactly the same letter in the shadow position, but I'm just going to sketch it in instead. Okay, so that would be where my drop shadow is going to be. So I would take my marker and fill in not only the lines, but make it solid. So when you have this solid shadow underneath, it gives the effect that the letters are floating above the page. And we're going to take that one step further and do something that's actually called extrusion instead of a shadow. And that also makes the letters come off the page. So I'll work on this one here, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did there and then go one step further. Okay, so here is my setup with the drop shadow, just like the first one on the left. And I'm just going to connect the corners of the shadow to the corners of the letters. So I'm going to start over here since it'll be easier for you to see. So I connect that, fill it in, and then I connect the one up there and I fill it in. Connect that one, that one, that one, and that one. And I see that I've forgotten to do that part of the undershadow. You can also add black to this to kind of emphasize either the edges, or I like to emphasize the very bottom. To make that part of the shadow stronger. And so this one is called extrusion. You can also do all of these shadows on your hand letter and faux calligraphy styles, although it is a bit more challenging. Remember to put the reference for where the light's coming. So we're still working from there, and the shadow is going to be down and to the left. So I've penciled it in on this version here, where I'm just going to do a simple drop line, then just trace over my pencil lines to create the drop line. So with the drop line, you can leave space between the shadow and the original letters, or you can go right up and touch it. It's really a personal style choice. At this one, I'm going to do an extrusion, which is a lot more complicated and works much better. Like I said, if you have another copy of this that's quite dark, and you can slide it under your page and then see through it so that you're tracing exactly the same letters in the right spot. So after I connect the shadow to the letter on all the corners and edges of the curves, it'll look something like this. And then I actually prefer to shade these in with a pencil because it gives me a lot more control over the light and dark areas than I can get with the markers. With the pencil, you can get shading like this. It's also softer, which may look better with the styling of the hand lettering and the faux calligraphy. Another nice effect is to make your words or letters look like a sticker. So for this, I need a word longer than high. So I'm going to use type, and what I'm going to do is outline the entire word. And you want your outline to be pretty far away from the letters. So I've sketched it in, for me, a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, but you can go even further. Just try and hang on to some of the definition of the shape of the word because that makes it more interesting. Then you take a black marker and draw a thin line all around this, and then take your black marker and make the bottom edge about twice as thick as it was. And thickening that side adds a slight dimension to it as though the sticker is actually stuck onto the page.